Hi everyone, I'm Daphne from OceanWise. OceanWise is an organization that is taking action for the ocean today so we can all flourish. We are based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, which is on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Peoples. This land has given life to generations of Indigenous peoples and continues to support all of us today. I think we can all learn how to better respect the land, water, and sky around us as they have since time immemorial. Unfortunately, humanity has a lot to learn about respecting the planet. Humans create many challenges for the ocean and nature. OceanWise is focusing on 3 of those challenges: overfishing, climate change, and ocean pollution. Let's dive into one of those: plastic pollution. Did you know that over 14 million tons of plastic enters the ocean every year? With 80% of that marine debris being plastic. But plastic is all around us, and we use it every single day. Take a look around the room. How many items do you see made of plastic? Today, we're going to be exploring the relationship between humans, plastic, and the ocean. But what is plastic? Let's take a look.
Plastic. What is it? Where does it come from? What is it actually made of? Let's find out. The actual stuff of plastic comes from the oil and gas industry. In fact, your plastic grocery bag is made from byproducts of the oil and natural gas refineries around the world. But wait a second. How do oily, gassy byproducts become your average plastic grocery bag? Well, to answer that, we're gonna have to go molecular. The fossil fuels that are refined in oil and gas factories are made of carbon and hydrogen, a hydrocarbon. They're natural and found in every organism on the planet. But when we take these hydrocarbons, subject them to some crazy heat, add chemicals, and do some tweaks here and there, funky stuff starts to happen to the carbon bonds. Meet ethylene. Ethylene gas is a very stable hydrocarbon, but crank the heat way up. Add a pinch of initiator and a dash of catalyst, and presto. You have broken apart the sturdy bond between the carbons and created a much more sociable ethylene that can hang out with each other in long chains. And the chain goes on and on and on and on and on and on, creating polyethylene, which is just a fancy way of saying a chain of ethylene molecules. As cool as plastic is, we made this endless daisy chain of hydrogen and carbon in totally unnatural conditions, and nature doesn't know what to do with it.
There's a lot that goes into the production of plastic. Can you remember what plastic is made from? Yeah, plastic is made from the byproducts of oil and natural gas. This process is very energy intensive and emits large amounts of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. In 2019, the life cycle of plastics contributed the equivalent of over 2 times the annual carbon emissions of the state of California. If we don't change our habits, those carbon emissions will continue to increase, leading to an expected growth of 300% by 2050. But we still have time to prevent this from happening. The world is already taking steps to reduce this issue. If we work together, we could see those emissions drop significantly. Plastic aids us with many aspects of life today by being cheap, non-permeable, and durable. These traits can be necessary for many safety needs, such as with medical supplies, personal protective equipment, and certain food packaging. Even though plastic poses challenges, we don't need to stop using all plastics. But we can find areas of life where we can use alternatives. Now, take a look around the room. Are there any plastic items that could be made of another material? There are many examples, but one we commonly see is single-use plastics. Single-use plastics are designed for immediate disposal and are a big concern due to their ever-growing popularity. Over 50% of plastic is designed for this type of use. And in Canada alone, up to 15 billion plastic bags are used every year. They offer many benefits, but the pace and scale at which we are producing them is a cause of serious concern. Half the plastic in the world was created in the last how many years? 10, 15, 25, or 50 years? The answer is that we've created half the plastic ever produced in the last 15 years. That means half the plastic in the world was created during most of your lives. Let's see what this plastic has to say for itself.
Where is it?
Oh, you found me! Haha, I'm a disposable coffee cup, that's me.
I'm sorry, but
You can fill me up with coffee and take me anywhere you want to go. In Vancouver alone, 136 million of me are thrown out every year, and I love it.
Just excuse me for 1 second.
I even have a polyethylene lining that prevents me from being recyclable. I'll be gradually broken down into tiny microplastics that are ingested by animals and can travel as far as even the Arctic. Yeah.
You are?
Hey, look at me.
You know, you could learn a few things from this guy.
It's just like my therapist said, I'm my own worst enemy. Haha.
Get out of here.
As you heard, humans use a ton of single-use plastics, like single drink containers. In Vancouver alone, 136 million single-use coffee cups are thrown away every year. Although using a new single-use item on a regular basis isn't great for the planet, there can be easy alternatives. I'm sure you are already taking some positive actions for the planet. Let's play a quick game of Have I Ever? We start by holding 5 fingers. I will say an action, and if you already do that action, you can put a finger down. Let's start. I use a reusable drink container that I wash and reuse. I have a food container that I wash and reuse. Myself, I like to bring mine to restaurants for leftovers as well. I have used someone's hand-me-downs or participated in a clothing swap. I share actions I take to reduce my impact on the planet. I have participated in a shoreline cleanup. These are just a few ways you may already be helping the planet, or they can be ideas of actions to start taking. But how does litter and plastics end up on the ground? And does it stay there? Let's take a look.
Visit any coastal beach on the ocean and you might find plastic, a lot of plastic. And when you see it lying there, you might wonder where it came from or where it ends up if it's washed back out to sea. Scientists are wondering that too. Turns out plastic in the ocean can travel almost anywhere given enough time, even all the way up to the Arctic. Let's find out how it might get there. The ocean is on constant spin cycle, powered by the sun, the tides, the wind, the Earth's rotation, the surrounding land masses, the continents, and variations in water density. When a piece of plastic finds its way into the ocean, there's a lot of things that could happen. It might get washed back to shore and end up as beach plastic, or an animal like an albatross or a sea turtle might eat it, mistaking it for their natural prey. But what happens if the wind and the currents take it further out to sea? Far away from land, the piece of plastic encounters what's called a gyre. It's a circulating whirlpool created by the Earth's rotation and global wind patterns, found in all 5 major oceans. There's the North Pacific and South Pacific gyres, the North Atlantic and South Atlantic gyres, and the Indian Ocean gyre. At the center of these gyres where this plastic collects are where you get these massive garbage patches that you've probably heard of. 1 square kilometer in these areas can contain over 500,000 pieces of plastic. The plastic might spin for months or years before some water variation or a storm spits it out. Depending on which gyre our plastic finds itself in, it could end up in the Gulf Stream along the east coast of North America, which travels all the way up into the Arctic. Now here is where the hot, salty seawater from the Gulf gets colder, saltier, and denser, sinking down into the depths of the Arctic and bringing our plastic with it. This is the end of the so-called global conveyor belt. A recent study found that the Arctic has become a major sink for old, weather-beaten plastic that sailed thousands of kilometers, far from any pollution sources. So next time you're at the beach with your friends and see a piece of plastic in the sand, pick it up and put it in the recycling bin where it belongs. Otherwise, it could end up polluting somewhere as remote as the Arctic. And now you know.
While this plastic litter travels through nature, for example, the ocean, it breaks apart into smaller and smaller pieces. Eventually, they get smaller than 5 millimeters, about the size of a grain of rice, and are declared microplastics, the tiny broken pieces of what they once were. Once items are not one, but thousands or millions of tiny microplastics, it is really hard to remove them from the ecosystem. Lauren can tell us more.
Microplastics are any kind of plastic that measures 5 millimeters or less, either broken up from larger pieces or are manufactured. Most of us are aware that they're invading our oceans, but what actually happens to these tiny plastic fragments in the sea? The good news is some super smart people are on the case. Meet Lauren Howell.
I'm a researcher with the Ocean Pollution Research Program. Microplastics are now pretty much part of the whole ocean ecosystem. It's degrading, it's going down, different plastics have different densities, so they're sinking at different rates, and that is sort of the deeper problem of plastic and microplastics in general.
Microplastics don't just float about harmlessly. They've infiltrated the ocean ecosystem, largely by being accidentally ingested or mistaken for food.
It's getting ingested, eaten by organisms like zooplankton, and a fish ingests that zooplankton, and as it makes travel between oceanic zones, other animals that eat it are like, oh great, a delicious fish snack. So they are now predating that fish, and that fish has eaten a zooplankton, and that zooplankton has eaten a plastic, and so that fish is now the inheritor of a microplastic.
Although these microplastics can be a big problem, an easy way to make a difference is making sure they don't get introduced to the ecosystem when they are one big piece. Leading or participating in a shoreline cleanup is a great way to achieve this. You don't need to be on a beach. Anywhere outside counts. And when we help out together, we can make a big difference. In just the year 2020, Canadians all over the country picked up a total of 21,800 food wrappers and much more, all as a team. But the impact doesn't stop there. Data from ocean-wide shoreline cleanups can be used in arguments for legislative change. Right now, the Government of Canada is banning 6 single-use plastics, with cleanup data used as a source of information for plastic pollution Canada-wide. Can you guess which single-use plastics are being banned? We have checkout bags, stir sticks, ring carriers, cutlery, straws, and plastic wrappers or other food service ware made from or containing problematic plastics. Canadians across the country are making a difference from a local to a national scale through these ocean-wide shoreline cleanups. I hope you are ready to take positive action for the ocean and all of us. From all of us at OceanWise, thank you for taking action for the ocean by reducing the impact of plastics.